Then I want to get into the you don't understand what your business in topic and identifying issues. So, you don't understand what business you're in. Drugs, gambling, and adult/porn are the only sectors that bypass the rules of money. For example, you can know nothing about money and make a ton of it by dealing drugs. It's illegal, of course, so you shouldn't do it, but you can also be an idiot and win the lottery, like gambling. And you can sell adult content because men are so horny that they'll do anything for a bit of puss puss. Like they'll give you thousands of dollars just for a smell of it. And you don't even have to be smart to make money, you just have to sell them emotions. So, a good question to problem solve is to ask yourself this: if I could have only one thing be true about my business, for example, if we had more traffic, we would make a lot of money. If we just had that one thing, we would win. If you can be very clear about that one point of leverage and you attack it with absolute onslaught of hours of work and repetition and preparation for those repetitions, you will win. That is a good exercise to define the problem you're currently facing. When you identify the problem, you simply attack it. For all of this to make a bit more sense, let me tell you a story about a guy I know that's in the food truck business. So, he started out in the food truck business. He has only one truck, right? And he did very well for himself. He started making lots of profits, so he decided to buy another food truck. And so, when he bought another food truck, of course, he put it in a different location than the first one and started to try to scale it. So he hired new employees that were on the first food truck and he was on the second one. He would sometimes switch locations, but he was trying to scale. And he had an issue. The first food truck started doing terrible. His profits went down by a lot. People stopped coming. The food turned bad and his employees were flaking the whole time and he had a lot of issues. He didn't know what the issue was. And then he went to his biggest competitor. He went to like multiple locations that his biggest competitor had. And all of his employees were like robots. Like he went to locations that were hundreds of kilometers apart and they were all the same, every single employee. They were charismatic machines, heavily overpaid, big smile on their face, loved working there, and they weren't overworked. They had good pay, lots of rest, and lots of benefits, and they loved their boss. So he realized that was the moment it hit him. Like he was spending way too much time. He was wondering, oh, why can't I scale this business? What's the issue now? At the start, when he had one food truck, he was just focusing, oh, let's get the best branding, let as many people know and make the best food. He focused a lot of time to make the best food. But now, when he had two food trucks, that wasn't the issue anymore. He already had good food. And he was still spending his days thinking, oh yeah, what's the best food to create? What new recipes can I make? He wasn't in the food business anymore. He was in the recruiting business. His issue was recruiting. He had bad employees. He had a bad system for those employees. It was bound to fail. So then, after talking to the biggest competitor he had, he realized he is in the recruiting business now and had to focus his time on recruiting instead of making the best food. So he focused on making the best food. He thought of new recipes and then he had issues. He should have been training employees. So as soon as he started focusing on recruiting, he successfully scaled his business and now he has multiple food trucks. He's doing great. So what I want you to learn from this is stop and analyze the situation you're in and define the problem you're facing. Define your current state, your desired state, and the obstacle to get there. And most of you should be focusing on getting more traffic and building a brand. And so if you don't even have traffic yet, you're in the traffic business. If you don't have good chatters or are struggling yourself with chatting, you are then in the recruiting business because you have to recruit people and train them to chat good. If everything is set up and on autopilot, you are then in the management business and you just have to make sure all the systems you created are functioning well. To actually succeed and progress in this game, You have to always identify the big problem stopping you from going to the next step. Identify your problem, solve it, and you get money in return. Like, you would be surprised to know that even people who have been in the OFM space for years now still make this mistake. Because it's much easier to say, yeah, these chatters are stupid as fuck, instead of actually taking responsibility and training them yourself. Do better. It's always your fault.